Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today I've got another first impressions video for you. It's my first impressions of this, the Kaigelu 316A. Now I've already got a Kaigelu 316, so one of the things we'll do is we'll do a very quick comparison between the two pens. I love the colour of this. This is a green patterns colour. I just think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Join me now down on the mat. We'll take a look at the pen. We'll put some ink in it. We'll do a writing sample. Then I'll give you my first impressions. So here we are down on the mat. Let's fetch in the pen. So here we have it. This is the Kaigelu 316A. It comes in this little wrapper. Now, one of the reasons I bought this, I know it says here it's got an M, it's got a medium nib on it. Most of the Chinese pens I get, they either have fine or extra fine. So when I saw one with a medium, I thought, got to have that. And I had been looking for a 316A for a while. So again, thought, let's jump on that right now. Just going to fetch in my pen rest, just give it a little bit of height. There we go. So this is the Kaigelu 316A. I do have a 316. I'm just going to fetch that in just so you can see the main differences. On the 316A, the two end finials, they're the same material as the body and the cap. Whereas on the 316, they're black. Also the band here, we can see the band, it's just two gold bands with a little bit of black in the middle on the 316, where it looks decorative on the 316A. I don't think there's any difference here with the nib and the section. Let me just take them off just so we can see. So again, difference between the two pens. Even the section is in the same material as the body, whereas on the 316, again, it's black. So I'll get that 316 out of the way. I just thought I'd do a very quick comparison before we looked at the pen, just so we can see the differences initially. Let's do a walkthrough of this pen. So we've got a finial. At the top here, we've got a little logo. There we are, if I get it the right way around. This is a kangaroo. It's got a little joey there sticking its head out. And then we've got a decorative border around it. That then goes into the green material, which tapes up until we get to the clip. So the clip, it's just, I would think it's screwed on. Very plasticky. Very stiff. I can hardly move that. I don't often put pens in my pockets, but if it goes into my Galen leather folio, I will need that to go over the holders so the pen doesn't rattle around in there. The actual cap, to my eye, it's the same width all the way down till we come to the decorative band. This band, it's just a pattern. I can't see any writing on there. Below the band, it's got a slight taper, and then we get a step down to the actual body. The body of the pen, same width all the way down until we get here to another, I think it's plastic, but it's like that goldy type colour or brassy type colour. Then we've got the end finial. The end finial is flat at the bottom. Now I'm just going to slowly turn this pen around. It's quite translucent. We can actually see the converter through there. But then we get this bit of chatoyancy coming through. Really pretty. Now this colour, the AliExpress shop that I bought it from, it had the colour labelled as green patterns. And yeah, you can definitely see green patterns in there. I think it's nice. It's a bright green, isn't it? You're certainly not going to miss this one. Okay, let's take off the cap. Well, we've already done it once, but let's count this time. So we go half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, about 2 3/4 turns for the cap to come off. I would have preferred if it was under 2, but it's livable. So we'll take the cap off. We've already had a quick sneak peek at this. Here's the nib. Let's take a closer look at the nib. So this, it's very standard for a Kaigelu nib. We've got that two-tone colour. We've got the majority of it is the steel colour, but then we've got the gold highlights. Right in the middle, we've got the logo. There's the kangaroo. And below that, we've got the word Kaigelu. Nowhere on the nib does it mention what the size of it is. So as I say, I ordered a medium. So I'm assuming that this has come with a medium. The section, as we saw earlier, it follows the same colour as the rest of the pen. I think that looks really nice. I like the consistent look of it. We've got a lip here at the bottom of the section. I'll have to see how that goes when I'm writing, because sometimes I find they dig into my fingers, but that's because I tend to hold my pens really low down the section. Let's take off the body. So the first thing we can see is metal fittings, so there's no way you could eyedropper this even if you wanted to. Inside, we've got this converter. I'm trying to see, is that a word? No, I think that's just a pattern there on the band of the converter. And that nicely goes down and then back up again. Let's pull the converter out. There we go. And that just fits nicely in there. Let's pop the pen back together again. I do like the look of this. It looks different, doesn't it? Now, a moment ago, I did fetch in the Kaigelu 316. I'm just going to fetch that back in for a second. In terms of pricing, I've had this Kaigelu 316 about a year. When I bought it, it was 24 Australian dollars. The Kaigelu 316A, this new one, that was 35 Australian dollars. So there's definitely a big price increase. Now, I have noticed that with most of my Chinese pens, they have gone up a lot in cost. So just be aware of that. Let's swap this over so we can do some size comparisons. There we go. There's the 316A back. So my first two pens, my standard pens, the Pilot Metropolitan and a Lamy Safari. Very similar sizes. No surprise there. Let's take a look with the caps off. So what I've tried to do here is line the bottom of the sections up. Nib-wise, it's a number 6 nib. Slightly bigger than the Lamy Safaris. Although, yeah, we can see there, definitely bigger than what we're seeing on that Pilot. In terms of length, when it's unposted, about the same as what we see with the Pilot, but just slightly shorter than what we would see with the Lamy Safari. Now, I tend to use my pens unposted. The 316 works fine unposted for me, so I'm assuming that this one will also. Let's try posting these. So in terms of posting, I've tried to post it and it only goes on to just the top part of that end finial. I'm assuming this won't post, and it doesn't by the look of it. So although we're seeing them posted here, let me just pop this back together. I've pushed it on a little bit harder. I can't see this being a pen that I would use posted. Let's get these two pens out of the way, and I'm going to fetch in another two pens to compare it with. So this time I brought in two pens that are the same price. I brought in the Hongdian 960. Now when I bought this, it was 35 Australian dollars. I've brought in a Kaigelu Sport, which was 35 Australian dollars. And as I said earlier, the Kaigelu 316A was 35 Australian dollars. So this is a nice comparison of what you can get for your money. Posted, the Hongdian is ever so slightly shorter. And, well, with the Kaigelu Sport, we expect it to be a lot shorter because it's a pocket pen. So posted, that's what we've got. I'm going to take the cap off the Hongdian and the Kaigelu. I'm going to leave it on the Kaigelu. I'm doing that because with the Kaigelu, this is how you would use it. You wouldn't even really attempt to use it unposted. So this time, where I've got the bottoms of the sections all lined up, we can see the nibs, very similar size between the Kaigelu and the Hongdian, whereas the Kaigelu, that's more of a number 5 size nib. I like the patterning on the Kaigelu and the Hongdian because we've got that two-tone effect there on the nib, whereas on the Kaigelu, it's just got that one goldy colour. And to me, I don't like the look of that as much. Let's pop the caps on these all. So with the cap on, the Hongdian and the Kaigelu, roughly the same size. That Kaigelu Sport, I mean, yes, we know it's a pocket pen. We expected it to be a lot shorter. Let's get rid of these two pens. I'm now going to step away from my desk and I'm going to give the pen a clean out. When I come back, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the ink I'm going to use. We'll fill the pen, do a writing sample, then I'll give you my first impressions. Okay, I'm back. Let's take a look at the ink. Well, when I looked at the colour of this pen, I thought this is a nice bright green pen. What we need is a nice bright green ink. So I've got a sample of Robert Oster Lime Green. So I thought, yeah, let's give this a try. It's a medium nib, so hopefully we'll get to see the colour coming through as well. Just going to move the pen. I think this is a really nice match. Just look at that, especially when we get that chatoyancy. I'm looking forward to seeing what this ink looks like when we're writing with it. Let's move that out of the way. I'm fetching my dragon. This is my really customised ink holder. You know, the actual pot came from an op shop, and then I've got a brass nut in there, which is used to keep the sample in place. So here comes my sample, Robert Oster Light Green. Take that cap off. I'm really hoping the pen fits in there because it looks quite narrow. So I've taken the cap off. There we go, there's the converter. It's had a nice clean, so that's going all the way down now to the bottom. Will it fit? Yes, it does. Let's pop that in there. Fetch the plunger up. Go back down. And then fetch that plunger up a second time. About half the converter's full, so that'll do for me. What I'll do in the future, if I'm going to be using a sample with this pen, is I'll actually syringe fill it. But for this writing sample, that's fine. There's plenty of ink in there. Just popping the pen back together. Here we go. Let's get rid of the ink. Right, let's fetch in my paper. So this is my standard test notebook, a black and red A5 using Oxford Optic paper. Let's do some writing. So the pen we've got is a Kaigelu. .316A. It's got a medium nib and it cost me 35 Australian dollars. The ink, Robert Oster Light Green. I'm actually liking the look of this ink at the moment. As you notice, I've had a few issues with the writing, but that could be just that I need to bed the nib in a little bit. Let's do our drying times. So immediate. Oh, looks fairly wet there. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Still smudging a bit at 30 seconds. We'll go for 1 minute. After a minute, yeah, now we're nice and dry. Going to move the mic so you can hear the pen writing. That's nice. It's smooth. There's the slightest hint of feedback, and that's something that I like. I like to have that little bit of like tactileness when I'm writing, and I'm certainly getting that with this nib. I'm not seeing much in the way of the issues I had when I first started writing. The only thing I might whinge about slightly is on the start of the W, but the rest of the writing looked quite nice. Let's see if there's any line variation. So this is no pressure. This is with a little bit of pressure, so we're definitely seeing line variation there. And then if I do some S's, yeah, that looks nice, doesn't it? I like it when you see, things like shading and line variation, because to me, it just adds a little bit to the character of the writing. Just going to now do these scribbles here. Why I'm doing this, I'm not a fast writer, but this at least shows if the flow keeps up as we're going fast. No issues there, it's gone all the way across the page. Now, before I give you my first impressions, I'm going to do one more test. I'm going to actually turn the lights off and I'm going to use an LED light to see if we can look at what the material's like from the inside. So the first thing I'll do, I'm going to take off the body because that's what we're going to look inside. I'll pop the rest down there. Right, turn the lights off. So my main light is off now. I've still got a bit of light coming through the window, so I've got this LED light. It's my new toy, you could say. So let's just play that over the outside of the material, see if we can use that to capture anything interesting. Just slowly turning that body round. Looks quite nice. Let's see what happens. Can I get this light inside? Now, I don't know how well this is going to show up when I record this. I can see lots of patterns coming through. I can see swirls, different shapes. I can see lines going across. Looks quite nice to me. And let's turn that off and put the lights back on. Okay, let's pop this pen back together. My wife bought me that light as part of my Advent gifts when I was doing the Inkvent inks. So I'm trying to get used to remembering to actually use it. I had it on a shelf and I was never picking it up, so I've now moved it. So it's actually on my recording table. So hopefully I'll use it more often. I love the look of this pen. I think it looks really nice. It's definitely an upgrade to the 316. Bit disappointed that it's like $11 more, but in the scheme of things, it's still a cheap pen. I like the fact I could get a medium nib. Nib size, that's a very personal thing. When I first started back about 2 years ago, I was going for a lot of fine and extra fine nibs. But as my tastes have evolved, I've moved now more towards, well, I would actually say I prefer to have broad nibs. But this medium is nice. It's a nice generous medium by the look of it. You can see on here, when I actually moved this all around, I've now got ink on the bottom of the pen. Let me just wipe that off. That's where when I went a bit thicker on the lines, the ink hadn't actually dried. There we go. Let's pop that back. I like the way it writes. It feels nice. It's not glass smooth. There's that hint of feedback, and it's what I like to feel. You know, you can feel it. You've got the tactileness. And to me, that's one of the things I enjoy, is feeling it when I'm writing. I actually quite like this ink colour. I think it's a good match for this pen. I've had this ink, I want to say again, about a year, and I've never had it in a pen yet because I didn't find a coloured pen that I thought would match it. I think we've got that perfect match. I mean, when we look at this scribble, that's so similar in terms of colour to the pen. Really enjoy it. As said, I like the pen. In my hand, it feels nice. At the moment, as I said, I haven't used enough to be able to say about this lip at the bottom, but it feels okay because it's not digging in as I'm holding this here. I like the 316 anyway, and this next iteration of it, I think getting rid of the black bands, getting rid of the black section was a really good idea because it just fetches the whole pen together. Anyway, this is my first impression of the Kaigelu 316A. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on this pen? Is it a pen you're interested in getting? Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.